Alright, my Kratom people out there. Again, I'm going to say a couple things right out of the top. I personally am not a Kratom person. I have recently experimented with it a little bit to try to get a grip on it. Actually, I only did a small dose of it, so I'm just on the stimulant side of it. I've experienced. I have a liquid dose that I've been told is going to give me the full-on Kratom effect. And I haven't taken it yet because I kind of want to be completely normalized the day I take it. I want to have a good diet that day. I want to maybe go for a walk before I do it and get a little bit of circulation and get, loosen up. I don't know. I'm nervous, to be honest. I'm nervous to take it. I'm not gonna lie. I read a Daily Beast article about Kratom today. I'm not a big fan of the Daily Beast, obviously. I mean, I'm not into it at all. Now I had to read it because I've been seeing nothing but positive, not really positive, but mysteriously, but on the right side of not scheduling Kratom out and making it a Schedule 1 narcotic. I've seen article after article talking about, hey, whoa, slow down, this hasn't killed anybody, so maybe we should take it a little more seriously because what we have is, I believe, 30, somewhere around 39 deaths a day or more on opiates. I think that's really low. It's I can't remember. Never mind. Forget I ever said that. I don't edit these videos. I don't have time to. I do have time to say, get it out. And when I say get it out, I mean get the money out of politics. That's why this thing is happening to Kratom. It's why it happened to marijuana almost 100 years ago in 1939. Same thing happened to marijuana. Exact same thing. Here we are almost 100 years later, and it's still not going to be anything that's going to get churned around in the next few years. That's the importance of this Kratom thing not happening with the DEA. So there's a little bit of good news, I guess. The DEA came out with a statement saying there basically is no timetable on this. And as I report this, it is the day that it's supposed to be illegal. Friday the 1st of October. I'm sitting here and I haven't seen a report saying the DEA put Kratom on Schedule 1 right now. And the last statement that they said is it might happen on Friday, which is today. It might happen then. It might happen a week from then, or you never know. You never know when it's going to happen. So I'm not a big fan of the DEA, obviously. I'm a medical marijuana advocate, big time. I'm a recreational marijuana advocate, big time. And when it comes to Kratom, I'm an advocate of natural substances, big time. And that's what marijuana is. It's a natural substance. And you got Kratom. It's a big deal. It's huge. But even the amount of people that use Kratom combined with the amount of people that illegally use opiates, all them people put together still does not equal the amount of people that are marijuana users. Period. There's just no way you can bring that number up there. And I'm not talking about prescription opiate takers that use their prescription according to the law, blah, blah, blah. I mean, they're addicted too. They're drug users too. They're legal though. So I'm only talking about people using illegally in the opiate world, period. Whether it be Kratom or real opiates, all of them combined, you still don't have as many people as use marijuana. So I've had people talking to me about Kratom and be like, oh man, this is, way more of a fight than marijuana or whatever they said. I don't even know what they said. They were just trying to get my sympathy, and you don't have to try. I'm there. I don't want to see this happen I know so many people in my life. I'm 44 years old. I know over 50 people or more who have died from opiates. All right. I'm ready to see something like Kratom come through, and actually, this is good for Kratom, in my opinion, because there's a lot of people that didn't know about Kratom before this. I'm one of them. There's a lot of drug addicts that didn't know about Kratom before this, that are using, fentanyl or OxyContin, or just taking 30 Vicodins a day or something, man. I mean, and eventually, you know where they're going to end up. They're going to end up on the street using heroin, because heroin's much cheaper than all these opiates that you get at the pharmaceutical company. I've never even looked at the copy. I'm just totally going off the cuff right here. So we have quoted the spokesman Rusty Payne, and this thing I'm looking at is from Payne News Network. If you do Kratom, and if you're a Kratom fan and a follower of Kratom, you probably know about these guys. I know about these guys because they also report about medical marijuana, which, again, I hate to keep trumping Kratom, but medical marijuana is the cause of 25% of people using pain medications to quit those orange bottles in states where marijuana is legal to use, whether it be medical or recreational or both. Obviously, it's usually both if it's recreational. But anyway, that is a huge deal. The fact that all these pain cases are, getting focused on, like I said, get the money out. This is the pharmaceutical industry trying to stop Kratom, and it's trying to stop marijuana. And marijuana's already 25 states have medical marijuana, so they're still fighting it. You should see, we need to focus on this Kratom battle really hard right now. Everybody needs to put everything else they got down, put it on the table, and step over here to the Kratom battle real quick. Because Kratom, if it is made Schedule 1, who knows if it'll ever come off that. I mean, people are going to be fighting it immediately when this goes into effect. And it is going to go into effect. I hope it don't. As I'm going to get through this copy, maybe I do, maybe I don't. I know all the facts already because I've been reading them all day. You have Orren Hatch. Senator Orren Hatch. Are you serious? Now, you might be wondering, why is this weirdo, why does he care about Kratom all of a sudden? And I believe he's a hard right-winger from Utah, if I'm not mistaken. Seems like prohibition of anything that could net more arrests of people and fill jails up and blah, blah, blah. Sounds good to a Republican any day, right? Well, Orren Hatch, he's also the powerful chair of the Senate Finance Committee. And he's been fighting the good fight for dietary supplements for a long time. Probably because, he's got friends in the game that are doing these dietary supplements. And these days, right-wingers are on the leading edge of this dietary supplement thing. Like, they got Alex Jones out there telling you he's got this pill that can make you live forever and shit. I mean, I'm not even joking, man. Google it or whatever. Yeah. So, let me get into some of this copy, though, just for the heck of it. There was a letter drafted by Utah Senator Hatch. Now, that's a big deal because we already had the Congress that floated around their letter to the DEA, and now you have the one, this is all bipartisan, this is another bipartisan one that the senators floated around. And it's basically all of these, apparently, what we're hearing from the DEA today is that it's not going to happen tomorrow, Friday, today, but that it's still going to happen, says Susan Ash, founder of American Kratom Association, a consumer group that promotes the use of Kratom for medical reasons. quote, I'm hoping and praying for some kind of negotiation or compromise, but it sounds like the DEA has dug in because they're trying to save face. The level of calls they have received and the level of complaints they are receiving is like nothing they've ever seen before. And she says we're basically not a bunch of druggies. If we were, we wouldn't be calling the DEA, Congress, senators, and others to get them to step in and help get a delay. Now, most people will probably look at this as a delay right now. Like, this is technically a delay. They said that on September 29th, that would be the last day that if you had Kratom, you could breathe free air. Like, after that, it's a crime to be possessing Kratom because it's a Schedule 1 narcotic. And if you look at what that means no medicinal value, blah, 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 blah. It will put you in prison. Not possession necessarily, but tell that to all the people in prison for marijuana. You don't want this to be on Schedule 1. Really don't. You really, really don't. The people that are taking Kratom, which is, in my opinion, again, it's my opinion, I don't have no medical research or science to back it up. I have a lot of anecdotal evidence pointing in the direction that Kratom is a benign substance. What does that mean? That means it cannot kill you. It might interact with other drugs, but not to the level where just that interaction will kill you, which is proven with marijuana. It's been proven in case study after case study with marijuana, thousands of them, that you can't mix marijuana with another substance and then the marijuana mix will cause a toxic reaction or will amplify the toxicity of another drug so that it kills you even though you didn't take a toxic enough amount, blah, 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 blah. And Kratom's the same way. That's what a benign substance is. It basically doesn't affect other substances and it doesn't kill you. That's all you need to know. It shouldn't be on Schedule 1 just because of that, like marijuana, just because of that. I mean, LSD, for that reason, shouldn't be on Schedule 1. And also, LSD is medicinal in many ways. LSD has been studied medicinally more than a lot of drugs that the FDA approved. And in fact, the FDA did have approval on it in the early stages of the FDA being the FDA. So, besides all that, and we're back on Kratom, we're gonna go back to the copy. I know it's boring, but whatever, we got to do it. Actually, the Pain News Network is never boring. They are on this. They're the ones calling Rusty Payne directly and getting a quote from him about this. Acting on the advice of the FDA, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the DEA moved to classify Kratom as Schedule 1 substance alongside of heroin, LSD, and marijuana without any public notice or comment. The DEA maintains that Kratom, which comes from the leaves of a tree grown in Southeast Asia, poses an imminent hazard to public safety and has been linked to several deaths. As far as I know, the DEA has came back out and admitted that there is only one death that was linked to Kratom, and that one was a meaning that it was taken alongside with something else. Now, all the deaths that they're talking about with Kratom are suspicious in my opinion. I've read into it. I might have reported, I don't know if I reported about it or not. Like, I read into stuff sometimes so much that I'll like have a dream that I reported on it and boom, I just never do a report. But whatever, I do know that there's suspicious because Kratom in itself isn't toxic, I don't think. I mean, maybe it is. We haven't seen the LD50 number on it, which is what is the half amount of that you would have to take before you die. Now, obviously, the LD100 must be what is the amount of this which would make it toxic to you. And I'm sure a lot of factors go into that, especially with a natural substance like Kratom. Um, there was a survey of 6,000 Kratom consumers by Pain News Network, and the American Kratom Association. 98% said Kratom was not harmful or dangerous substance, and 95% said banning the herb will have a harmful effect on society. And that's what I keep saying. When you pull this rug out from under the people that are using it for whatever purposes they're using it for, whether it be recreational or medicinal or to help them overcome addiction or what have you, only dangerous things are going to happen after that. I'm sure the pharmaceutical industry is going to see a bump. You know what I mean? They're going to see a little bit of waves coming in. Pharmaceutical industry is the reason that the DEA got the memo from the FDA, the Center for Disease Control. These people don't get phone calls every day saying, hey man, we have somebody over here choking out on Kratom. No, they have somebody calling them up saying, hey man, there's somebody dying here on fentanyl, like 39 people a day or more. Hey man, there's somebody over here dying from this or that. Usually pharmaceutical drugs. Alright? As a matter of fact, I just read where opiate-related pharmaceutical overdoses has surpassed automobile accidents as the #1 cause of accidental deaths in America. Wrap your head around that for a minute, alright? Have you heard about anybody that died from Kratom? Have you ever met anybody that died from Kratom? Do you know anything about Kratom? A lot of people don't. And that's a problem right there. The fact that most people don't know about Kratom aren't going to give a fuck about this. They don't care. They just straight up don't care. But the people that do know about Kratom care a lot. I barely know about it, and I care a lot just because I know it will happen. I know what's about to happen, and I know who's behind it. I know exactly who's behind this shit. The vast majority of Kratom users say they use the herb in teas and supplements to treat chronic pain, anxiety, depression, addiction, and other medical issues. Like medical marijuana, you just open Pandora's box. Those are the very things that the pharmaceutical industry crushed holistic medicine, crushed marijuana, and are trying to crush Kratom over. Those things there, chronic pain, the most prevalent medical condition in the world, in society and humanity, anxiety, probably the second most, depression, definitely up on the top 5 list, and addiction. Addiction is definitely something that the pharmaceutical industry has chased the dragon trying to cure. Let's just rewind that clock back. You know, you had the first thing that they found was opium, where you could just smoke some raw material gathered from a plant. Then the next thing they had, well, we got too many people strung out on opium. Let's make it a little more pure and get them off of that opium with some pure shit. And there's morphine. And then they took the garbage from the plant and tried to make morphine out of it, came up with codeine or some shit like that. And then they realized that they could just mix that shit with hydrochloric acid and concentrate it to whatever level they want. And that's how you got hydrocodone. And then I don't even know how you got the rest of them, man. They're just so concentrated that they're stronger than heroin, like fentanyl. Heroin was designed to get people off of morphine, and then methadone was designed to get people off of fucking heroin. Did I just say they were chasing the dragon trying to figure this shit out? Meanwhile, people are reporting getting off of these shithead drugs with Kratom, which is a substance that is totally harmless and probably completely benign, and you could make an industry out of it. It's a fucking plant. You know, it's a tree that grows in Southeast Asia. Anyhow, so many people that use Kratom are definitely going to just keep using it, and they're going to be targeted just like the 45 people a day that get arrested for marijuana in 2016, according to the FBI. 45 people a day. No, that wasn't it. It was once every 45 seconds. So that's way more than 45 people a day. Once every 45 seconds, somebody's getting arrested in America for marijuana. Unbelievable. Like I said earlier, Kratom users, there's probably not, I mean, it's not a number that's even gonna, like when you put it next to the user amount of marijuana, it's not even gonna look like there's anybody using it at all. But they're gonna be going to jail. They're gonna be churning to other opiates, other narcotics, maybe pharmaceutical grade, or maybe heroin. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what's gonna happen, man? All right, so let's get some more quotes. The Pharmaceutical Division Education is a law enforcement and healthcare educator. They tell the cops and the healthcare people about prescription drug abuse mostly, and diversion from that. But you know, that's mainly what they do, is they see where this pharmaceutical industry has created a lot of drug addicts, and they want to try to like get people away from that before they get to the point where they're on heroin. So the quote from this guy was, "We need to be very careful about what we put in Schedule 1, especially with limited data. I think there's a huge mistake to do this to Kratom." That was John Burt, president of the Pharmaceutical Diversion Education. You can't be more wrong, man, or I mean more right. The dangers involved in putting this thing in Schedule 1 is huge, but the ramifications is now you can't study it. Now you can't say, okay, we really can use this to treat addiction, because no one actually did actual studies, and there's a reason for that too. The FDA's always had their eye on Kratom in a negative light, and wasn't allowing perhaps people to get permits to do actual research on it, and was shutting research down on that. I'll get into that later. That's a little bit more research. It's kind of not even a news story, but if I can do enough research on it and break it, I will. But I'm pretty sure the FDA is behind Kratom being illegal in a couple states leading up to this ban by the DEA, as a kind of a test drive to see how they could, to see how it would go over or whatever, you know, see what the ramifications of it. I mean, these people can't conceptualize what will actually happen when they do this. So they have to test it out in smaller markets before they go full-blown, you know, full-blown federal ban. What if it is a legitimate drug that can help people, and we're going to make criminals out of the people trying to get the help now? I just think that's awfully fast. I would hope that if it is Schedule 1, that is given a huge window of research and experimentation. It doesn't happen. To me, if 6,000 people say it's helping me, that tells me there's a promise there and we ought to be exploring it. So if it is turned into Schedule 1 substance, it will fall in line behind a long list of illegal drugs, and the DEA is already struggling, some would say failing, to control. Like I said, they arrest someone every 45 seconds for marijuana. But there's no way you can justify that. Prohibition of marijuana. How are people still getting arrested for it? There's 25 states that have legal medical marijuana. 4 states in D.C. have recreational marijuana right now. And there's about to be more in November. Get used to that. So our priorities will not change. Anybody that's in violation of the Controlled Substance Act runs a risk of arrest and prosecution, says DEA spokesman Rusty Payne. He's a real pain. He just doesn't understand logic and reason. I don't know about taking marijuana down from Schedule 1 to 2. I'm for getting it off the CSA altogether. But he wasn't even trying to be reasonable about it. That said, Rusty says, right now our biggest problem is the opioid epidemic. fentanyl, heroin, prescription drugs, fentanyl compounds from China, designer synthetic drugs. That's the biggest priority right now, and that's what we're dealing with. Unbelievable. The DEA is about to crush Kratom, and the Senate is against it. It's a bipartisan effort in the Senate and in the House. People were out on the lawn of the White House marching around with signs, and it's just a mess all around. It's this terrible, disgusting mess where there's not enough protesters ever. There never is. I think it's either people are too comfortable or they're too busy working 3 or 4 jobs so that they can be in that comfort zone, so they don't feel like they have to go out and protest anything because they don't got it that bad. Well, you got it that bad. Everybody around you is suffering. If you ain't got it that bad, then you don't have eyeballs or something. This Kratom thing is one of the worst moves I've seen by the DEA, besides earlier this, a couple weeks back, I would say a month and a half ago, when they said no to marijuana again. What is going on? Well, long story short, guys, the government does not belong to you. I don't care if you pay taxes. I don't care if you pay the most taxes. If you're voting for Donald Trump, you should be mad and not vote for him now, because he just bragged about being smart because he don't pay taxes. Is that logically legit? Are you a patriot if you don't pay taxes? Here's the thing, is if you do pay taxes, you expect the government to actually work for you. And the Republican trick is, let's get rid of the government. Let's make the government small, and let's lower everybody's taxes. Really what they're trying to do is let their billionaire buddies get away with just not even paying taxes. And here we, all the little people have to pay all the taxes. Yet the government only works for the big people that don't pay the taxes, while it fucks everybody down here that pays the fuck out of taxes the fuck over. Because there is no government for us. The DEA, if the DEA was working for the people instead of the FDA, who works for the pharmaceutical companies who can do whatever the fuck they want and get whatever they want approved. So the DEA don't work for shit. The DEA listens to the people who get the most money, and it's as corrupt as this corrupt government shit can get. You're sitting here with a bag of fucking dried leaves, and you can go to prison for it. Meanwhile, there's these guys over here laundering money for drug cartels that chop people's heads off, HSBC, and no one even goes to jail, or no one gets fired or nothing. They probably still all have their accounts too. It was just, oh, here's a news story. No one got in trouble? Okay, cool. Everybody back to work. That's the kind of shit system we live in, man. The situation at hand is that the DEA is going to move on this. If they don't, I'd be very, very surprised.